President-elect Donald Trump flipping battleground Georgia, becoming the first Republican to win rural Baldwin County in 20 years. Joining me now is Georgia Congressman Austin Scott, a member of the House Intelligence, Armed Services, Rules, and Agriculture Committees. Congressman, I know Baldwin County falls in your district. What do you make of Trump flipping the county?
Yeah, I'm headed there today. I think it's just kind of symbolic of what happened around the nation. Americans are hurting when they go to the grocery store. They're hurting every time they fill up with gas. When you look at Kamala Harris, she was someone who had one position on guns her whole life, one position on open borders her whole life. She turned around and flipped those positions 60 days before the election. People here are smart enough to see through that. And then from the standpoint of the economy, Maria, there's several things going on here. One is people trust Trump on the economy. Two is we see our farmers, our fields being turned into a bunch of solar panel wastelands, and we know that's not good for Georgia's economy. It's not even good for the environment when you're cutting down timber and other things to put solar panels up there. And so we see a lot of things coming out of the administration that are detrimental to the state of Georgia, and the people in the state are smart enough to see that.
You know, President-elect Trump winning the military vote in Georgia as well. Yes, there's real confidence in Trump on the economy and certainly on immigration, but there's also confidence in the military. 53% of veterans voted for Trump. You campaigned for Trump in Macon, Georgia, discussing the importance of national security for Georgia voters. Let's take a look.
Some people who are watching this might not recognize Georgia has 9 major military installations. And you know what the men and women, their families want? That work at those installations and serve on those installations more than anything, they want peace. I want a president that my enemies are afraid of.
So how about that? I mean, do you think this is also of high importance? I mean, senior Russian officials yesterday suggested that Trump's victory could lead to a reset in relations between the U.S. and the Kremlin. Isn't that interesting that the day after Trump wins, you've got the foreign ministry in Russia suggesting we want a reset with the United States? Then there's Israel. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu fired Defense Minister Yoav Gallant, who the Biden administration saw as their partner, Congressman. Give us your sense of policy changes on foreign policy now that Trump is back in the White House come January.
Sure. So let's look at Trump's history. He did not start any new wars. Our enemies are afraid of him, and so that helps bring peace throughout the world. And our friends respected him. And so if you look at NATO, all this rhetoric from the Biden-Harris campaign, NATO was stronger than it had ever been because Trump went to him and said, you have to put up, your share of the NATO alliance's defense budget. And the country started doing that. And Trump was right with the things that he told when he cautioned Germany about being dependent on Russia for their energy sources. So all of the things that Trump said, he was right on with regard to NATO and getting them to put more money in. The NATO alliance was strong until the Biden administration did what they did in Afghanistan, where they didn't even have a discussion with them. So I trust President Trump on the military-related issues and national security-related issues. He doesn't want a war. If you look at him, though, he is not going to allow the United States and our citizens to be pushed around. And so all of these things that the Biden administration has done on the continent of Africa would be an example where the Russians and the Chinese are having us pushed out of the continent of Africa. We've lost the ability to operate in several very sensitive areas in Africa that we needed from a national security standpoint. The next terrorist attack will probably come out of Africa. I think Donald Trump's going to have the ability to fix all of those things that the Biden-Harris administration have done that have been detrimental to our national security, and I think he'll do it in very short order.
Yeah, I mean, you look at the Navy, for example, something that I bring up a lot. The Chinese Navy is larger than the U.S. I mean, the fact that we are not, bulking up military as the rest of the world and in so many corners of the world is on fire is really questionable. And Jonathan Fahey, I think one issue is that the rest of the world, these dictators around the world, weren't sure what Trump was about. There was so much uncertainty about him. They didn't know where he was going to go, what he was going to do. And as a result, it kept them in check. Jump in here.
Yeah, I think that's exactly right, that people not only are afraid of him, but the unpredictability is a good thing. And nobody, everyone, to be fair, I don't think anyone in the world really respects Biden. He exudes weakness. But, yeah, how much more of that, Congressman Scott, is going to, increase our bargaining position with our adversaries, such as China, Iran, or Russia, because we have President Trump versus President Biden?
Well, I think if you look at the cabinet positions that you're going to see out of Donald Trump, and you look at the previous, that administration, I mean, hopefully we see someone like a Mike Pompeo come back in, who served as both Secretary of State and head of CIA. I'd love to see him at the DOD. All of the cabinet positions with regard to Secretary of State and DOD are going to be extremely important, with people understanding that we care more about national security than we care about DEI and other social issues. And so the move back to what our military and our national security organizations are supposed to do in protecting Americans is going to happen, and it's going to happen very fast with Donald Trump. And this away from, it's our job as an agency to make you feel good. That all that's nonsense. That's just not reality with the world that we live in today. Our enemies hate us. Our enemies want to kill us, and our enemies are not afraid of us right now.
Yeah,
at least they haven't been until 2 nights ago.
Yeah,
they're afraid of us now.
Congressman, what do you want to say about the House? Control of the House still undecided at this hour. Republicans are currently in the lead, of course. House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries, however, said that the House is still very much in play, claiming that a path to a majority runs through seats in Arizona, California, Iowa, and Oregon. A senior House Democrat aide, however, is throwing in the towel, telling Fox News Digital we're almost certainly going to lose the House by a narrow margin. House Speaker Mike Johnson formally asking Republicans to re-elect him as the Speaker. In a letter, Johnson writes this: the next 2 years can result in the most consequential Congress of the modern era. Are you expecting to support Mike Johnson, Congressman?
100%. Mike Johnson has done an exceptional job in a very tough position. He has earned the right to be the Speaker of the House. I expect every Republican to go out there and support him as the Speaker of the House. This is not a time for us to get into this charade that we got into 2 years ago when a certain group created tremendous turmoil. We have 24 months where we will be the House lead, the Senate lead, and have the President of the United States. We've got a lot of work to do in 24 months. We need to elect Mike Johnson Speaker as soon as possible. And then we need to get to work. We have to deal with the tax code. We have to deal with the national security related issues. We have to deal with energy. We have to deal with the border and immigration. We don't have time for the charades that a very small group of people in the Republican Party played just under 24 months ago. So Mike Johnson needs to be the Speaker, and we need to get this done as soon as possible. We will, as Republicans, I expect, have somewhere around 223 representatives in the House.
When do you
think, slim margin, but it will be a majority.
When do you think you'll get clarity on the number and the lead in the House?
So part of this is going to come down to the fact that just California races, California takes forever to count the ballots.
Okay.
That said, I think Florida does an exceptionally good job of getting their ballots counted real quick. But I think the Florida ballots, it just takes them the California ballots, it just takes them a long time to get that done the way they do their elections out there. I'm not a Californian, but I would suggest they fix that for the sake of the country.
Yeah.
But we're going to win seats out there that they didn't think we're going to win just because how far left the Democratic Party's moved.
Thank you, Congressman. Austin Scott joining us. We'll be right back.